A new bike for Owen. We were off. We were riding Buddy Owen. Brought himself a new bike in Mootrambar in Queensland. That's 4,800 kilometres from where we live. So I rode up there so I could ride home with him. Do a bit of adventuring while we were there. Once I got past Gundawai, I was up the freeway. Then once I got past Gundawai, I turned inland and started heading towards the outback. There's a lot of livestock out at the moment. We've had a big drought up here for years and years, and there's been no rain. So the farmers just grazing their cattle up and down the road, trying to find any the grass they can. As you can see here, they'd actually had a bit of rain, so things were looking a lot better than. It's amazing how much things can change just a little bit of rain, but things are looking a little bit better this month anyway than they have the last few years. But still, cattle everywhere, cattle and sheep just everywhere, grazing up and down the roads. It kind of works for the riders though. We use the cattle to keep the grass verge down, and there's nothing for the kangaroos to eat, so they don't hang so close to the road, so that's always good. Run into a lot of grey nomads this trip. You always know where you're heading, somewhere popular or somewhere good. When there's a lot of grey nomads, the retirees towing their caravans and whatnot, all through the outback. They're everywhere. They travel around like a wagon train, and they set up little cities, and they just follow the seasons around. But they're good people. They're friendly. They're helpful. They've always got maps. They've got food. They've got water, and a cup of tea and a biscuit quite often too. This is Lightning Ridge. There's sheep everywhere all over the road. We're getting close to Queensland now. You can see the puddles. They had rain, but it really hadn't made much of a difference up in this area. It's really dry. This is a really popular selfie spot. And Queensland, hit Queensland, and emus. Emus everywhere. They're a pretty dumb bird too, so you've got to be careful for them, They'll run at you the last minute. Guys, stop, let them go. I tried to get a little bit closer and try and get a bit of a footage on my phone, but yeah, they weren't having much of it. They're pretty shy, pretty timid animals. I noticed a big sign as well. They were baiting wild dogs, and there's a real big problem up there with all the droughts they've been having. All the animals, all the wild animals that are they're moving into the cities, into the towns, because they're looking for food and water. So it's getting pretty dangerous, especially at the wrong time of the day. Like if you have a look at my shadow, this is how I ride. If you look at the shadows, particularly my shadow, when your shadow's getting real long and it's reaching the other side of the road, that's the time to get off the road. Mine was starting to stretch out a little bit, so it's about 3:30 in the afternoon. This spot, and you can see how long your shadow is. But once your shadows, if it's hitting the other side of the road, it's time to get off, because that's when the roos are coming out. I did spot one and try to get a little bit closer to them and say good day, but they just sit there. And it's a good spot really here. I guess it's gravel on the side of the road, so they're not right on the shoulder of the road. They're back a bit, which gives you a bit of time to see them. I spotted this one, thought I'll stop and say good day. But he was having none of it. He's going to truck on too, see? I'm not talking to you. And I was just riding and riding. I just kept running out of daylight. I pushed it a little bit hard the second day. The sun was going down. And I managed to make it to Roma. That was my goal, which gave me a bit easier run the last day up to Mootrambar. And then I hit the Central Highlands. And I'd been through here a couple of months earlier, and it was just dry and dead. They had a bushfire up there a couple of years ago, and it just and with no rain or anything, it was dead. It's amazing what one little bit of rain can do. Everything starts springing back to life after being dead for so long. It's pretty good. But this is open grazing country. There's cattle grates across the road about every 5 or 10 kilometres, and it's stations they call them. They're bigger than a farm. Cattle stations. And the livestock just basically they're wild, and you're in their territory. Some pretty big too, and they've got some pretty big horns. And they'll be in ditches or right beside the road, or and I haven't had any problems with them, but I've got a bit of experience. I try and stay out of their way, to be honest, and don't ride at night, you know, you can't see them. But basically you're riding through a big farm, it's open grazing, you're on their land, so you've got to give way to them. You can see by the roads, by the way the bike's jumping up and down, it's some of the roads are pretty rough through the outback, so I mean I could do 1,200 kilometres in a day pretty comfortably if I get an early start from just going up and down the freeway. But when you get out the outback, the roads are rough, it kind of slows you down a little bit, you know, you take more breaks, and with the wildlife, the livestock, you know, and the kangaroos and wild pigs and emus and whatever else you might run into, it slows you down, so you can't be in a hurry when you're in the outback. You just got to take your time, and you get to where you get, you know. And you've got a shorter riding day too. I don't have any problems riding up and down the freeways after dark and stuff like that. There's not so many roos, but out here you lose, you know, 3 or 4 hours of your day's riding if they're all out everywhere. But I got up to Rolleston, and the road's been so rough that they were really starting to chop out my back tyre. I was starting to worry about that, and I spotted that I had a nail on it. So I wasn't sure what I was going to do about it, and I started making some phone calls and ringing around, and basically I was about 3.5 hours to 4 hours from anywhere that would have a Harley tyre, be able to change it. Where I was, there was no one that could, even if I could get a tyre freighted to me and stay there for a couple of days waiting for it, there wasn't even anyone that could fit it. So I had a couple of choices. I could either head towards the coast out to Rockhampton, it was about 3.5 hours away, but I was only about 3.5 hours or 4 hours away from Moranbah anyway, so in the end I decided to just carry on. I met some wonderful people at Rolleston at the truck stop there, Bernie and Helen. They were touring around, seeing a bit of the outback on their bike and towing a little pod on the back of it, was pretty cool. And they offered to ride with me for a while, just to make sure that I didn't get stuck out in the middle of nowhere, because you can, and you might not see anyone for a while. So yeah, I was pretty wrapped about that, made some new friends, and they came for a ride with me for a couple of hours, and up through to Armadale. And so yeah, they're really good people. But you meet some really nice people, you know. People say people don't stop and people won't help you on the roads in Australia. Well, that's just not correct. Everywhere I go, I meet people that are just so friendly and kind. It just it's heartwarming, you know. Much better than in the cities. I'd rather be lost out in the outback than in a city any day. But yeah, they had this great BMW with towing a little pod on the back, and they had the intercom system. So I videoed them for a while, because just get some footage of them riding it, because I don't know if they'd ever seen it before from another point of view. But they had an intercom that they could talk to each other, and they were having a great time. And manoeuvring past the road trains can slow you down a lot as well. But the truck drivers are really good. Often they'll be the first ones to stop for you as well. If you break down, you're in the middle of nowhere. Obviously not the big road trains, but because they just take too much to pull up. But they'll give you a blink on the right indicator. If they can see around the bend, they know they can see you in the rear vision mirror. They know you want to get past them. When they can see there's enough room, they'll give you a blink. So you just be patient, sit there. They'll give you a blink, and phew, off you go. And you give them a wave, because they've just done you a favour, and they'll look after you. Well, you look after the truck drivers, they'll look after you. They're great people, and they live on the road. It's their life, you know. So there's not many people that know much more about it. But yeah, my tyre had a little nail in it. I ended up doing 250 kilometres with that nail in it. Never let me down. Got to Moranbah in the daylight. That was good. Just in time for Owen to fly in from Melbourne to check out his new bike. So we set to checking the bike out, and he was so happy. And We settled in for a couple of beers, and probably a couple too many considering we had to ride home the next day anyway, but that was a great night catching up with some old friends and Owen getting his bike ready, me having a beer, sweating because I'm Victoria and that was northern Queensland. It was hot. So we settled in the morning. Tomorrow morning I've got to go. Marty and Raylene were friends up there. They managed to pick me up a tyre when they were picking up Owen at the airport. So I had a tyre. I said to go in the Mirror in the morning and find someone who could fit it for me. And then we'll be on the way home. So tune in for the next episode. 4 days home.